Hello everybody, welcome back. We're going to have a look at Pundix. Yeah, I thought I'd just do it, might as well. I don't know how many people talk about Pundix on the internet, but someone's got to do it. So I have Pundix as one of my it's a hodl bag, right? I have the idea that it's going to behave like a token swap always behaves. Well, not always, but I've always noticed this pattern where I suppose in the last cycle, so we had things like Elrond, which became E-Gold, which is basically when Elrond basically rallied like an absolute mother, and literally just went absolutely mental, and then the token swap happened. It turned to E-Gold and then plummeted, and then sort of rallied like a mother. Same thing happened to Stormplay when it turned, that rallied like a mother, turned into StormX, and then sort of plummeted and then rallied like a mother. And then Pundix, it used to be NPXS or something like that, rallied like a mother, and then token swapped, dumped like a mother. And if you ever got a chance to look at the previous chart, I've had a look. I don't really have any way to look at it, really, to be honest. Can't find a good example, but I remember it. It looked like this. Dumped like a mother, basically went sideways for the entire cycle, and then rallied like a mother. So that's my thesis on token swaps, basically. They fulfill their previous behavior. There's a little bit, what would be the word for that? Superstitious, perhaps, maybe a bit hopium, but based on the chart, at least, let's just focus on the chart. We have had lots of opportunities to buy this in the 30-cent zone, and I've always spoken about this on Patreons and stuff like that, saying, look, if it comes into the 30s, that's the place to buy it, because whether or not you believe that it's going to rally like a mother at some point, the 30-cent zone, pretty good risk to reward, basically. The lowest it ever really likes to go is 30 cents, and most of the time when it goes to 30, it at least makes its way up to 50, towards 60, which is close to doubling. Sometimes it even moves into the dollars, right, or close to it. So we've had these opportunities 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 recently. Chances to buy it in the 30s, and I'd always say to people, look, just, if you want it, you got to buy it in the 30s, and we're ever so slightly above the 30s at the moment. Now, Bitcoin's looking a little bit basically static, doesn't really know exactly what it wants to do. If you go on X, some people say, oh, it's pump into 70. Some people say it's dump into 40. Yeah, nobody knows. I think a lot's going to hang in the balance of the CPI, which I've got my own opinions about. So Pundi requires a healthy market to rally. Now, also Pundi trades for the most part less than a million, 24-hour trading volume. So when you have low trading volume like that, it's normally an okay thing to think about buying into a hodl, because for whatever reason, if this does become popular again, and the money pours into it, it's classic Ponzi setup, isn't it? Really, you're in first, and all the money that comes in thereafter becomes your money. So it's just an easy way to think about positioning yourself when volume is relatively low, if the chart is giving you an opportunity to do that. Now, this isn't a trade, this is a hodl. It takes up about less than 2% of my portfolio, but it's still a nice amount, with the view that this is going to recover back to and above where it came from, right? So that's decent returns, right? This could rally pretty hard, if my theory is correct. But for this very moment in time, we are getting rejected on the centre of a Bollinger Band, really. After having a death cross retest, like many altcoins out there, they're all getting their death cross retests. And death cross retests basically reject and take you back down to where you started from. There's a death cross retest on simples. There's a death cross retest on exponentials. And again, we've tried it again over here. So the chances are we are going to move back into the 30s. Which gives anyone the opportunity to pick it up once again. That's all there really is to be said about it. There is nothing more to say. If you want it, you ought to buy it in the 30s. Whether that's 39 or 30, buy it in those areas. It's a hodl bag. From a trading perspective, right this very moment in time, we do have a golden cross that is being retested. It's very messy, but it was retested yesterday. That gives you the area of 40 cents, almost 41 cents, around 40 cents, which, well, look, 40 cents is just a fraction above 39 cents, isn't it? But outside of that, there's nothing much more to say about it. Now, based on that weekly, we do have turning up of momentum, ever so subtle, but it is there. 3 green histograms. So you look at Investopedia, they'll tell you that's a bullish sign. We are holding above the 20 weekly, which again gives you more likely chance to remain above the 20 weekly. 65% more likely that would be to stay above that area, which means that we might be looking from that move from 30 to perhaps maybe $1. We might be seeing that process unfold in front of our face. The only problem with this altcoin, as with all altcoins, is this, which is your Bitcoin situation. And Bitcoin currently is still more or less floating above the all moving averages on the weekly, which gives this very second in time, this very moment in time, the ability to actually move up from here into the $67,000, $68,000 zone. The 4 hourly doesn't look like that at all, though. The 4 hourly looks like it wants to come down and retest the 62, maybe even lower than that, 61. I've still got my long position on from yesterday, and the daily doesn't look that good either, getting a rejection here on the 20 moving average as well. But support on the 21. So things are pretty lame, I have to say, today for Bitcoin, and then we should expect a lameness to sort of filter into all the other altcoins. Now, for whatever reason, if Bitcoin does decide to move up, then I would expect all the other altcoins that have decent setups. And again, this currently, as of this very moment in time, based on the weekly, is above the midway point, so you're more likely to remain above this level than break down from here. Ever so slightly, the odds are in favour of that continuing and moving up from here to the next major area of resistance, which is about 56 cents. But for me, this is a hodl, right? This is a hodl. And if you wanted it, or if you do want it, you buy it in the 30s. It's kind of that simple. I know it sounds too oversimplified, but it is the case. There's a few charts out there that we look at relatively regularly. One that comes up on the Patreon a lot of the time is one called Venu, which again looks like a real mess. You just zoom out from it and go, whoa, that's a messy chart. We really wouldn't want to get involved in that. But then there is an area of it which is good risk to reward, which is the lower you go, there seems that it always responds positively once you've come down to those levels. And again, we don't have an enormous amount of history on some of these charts, but the history we do have says that good risk to reward the lower you go. And the risk to reward for Pundix is anywhere in the 30s, normally gets forgiven. Even if you bought 39 rather than 30, it gets forgiven. You see these nice moves up. I mean, that was an enormous one. That's a pretty big one. This is a relatively big one. And it even extended all the way up close to, got up to 90. So we came down here again. We've been down here twice over the last couple of months. And what are we looking for? 56? Or are we looking for 70? Are we looking for $1? What are we looking for? Or is this the absolute low this time and the alt season starts to really pick up pace? And I couldn't say that that's definitely going to happen at all, this quarter. But the risk to reward down in the 30s is extremely good. It's extremely good. Now, if we did lose the 30s, well, then it goes into, then it turns into a bit of a problem at that point, really, because we've never been down there before and we don't know where we'll stop. I don't know much about Pundix, to be honest. I know very little about it, which is why it takes up such a small amount of my portfolio. But I still feel like it's worthy of existing in the portfolio because of my my theory of the token swap and the carbon copy chart, which will materialise towards the end of this cycle within the next 12 months. So there's decent risk to reward on this one from the 30s, where you might end up moving your way all the way back up to where it started from, which is close to $10, and maybe even 20, 30, 40, 50. Who the hell even knows? But 30 cents or within the 30s, yeah, fine. Even if you wanted to do some scalpy trades, you could put a limit order in at 30 and a sell order in at 56. Seems reasonable to me. That's a decent little scalp, and it might take weeks or months to fulfill, but profit is profit. All right, profit is profit. As long as you're not looking for enormous returns by the end of the day, it still looks like a decent setup to me. Right, that's all there really is to say about it. But yeah, I'm bullish on Pundix, like I say, I am bullish on it. This cycle, I've more or less been a bit more conservative about what charts I buy into for the long term. It's for me, when you're dealing with sort of like, I suppose, large amounts of money, really, you don't want to take enormous risks on coins which effectively are, like this one, down only. But it's worth a little punt, like I say, it's worth a punt. And I think, you know, if you get the opportunity to buy within the 30-cent zone for Pundix, I wouldn't hold that against you. Based on what we see right now, the risk to reward is really good. Right, I'll leave it with you there. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.